Welcome to the 359. I'm Alfred Ng.
I'm Joni Salzman.
So in the wake of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, there's been a massive call on social media for people to delete their Facebook. There was a trending hashtag on Twitter on Tuesday, and Brian Acton, the WhatsApp co-founder, he ended up selling WhatsApp to Facebook for $19 billion in the past, and he tweeted out also, it's time to delete Facebook. But, you know, I'm very doubtful that people are actually going to do this. Joan, do you still have your Facebook page?
I mean, I do. One of the reasons that I do, I think, underscores the reason why it's hard to delete Facebook. You know, as a journalist, I'm like basically not allowed to delete Facebook. It's something that we have to do to promote our stories. And it's not just people like me. I mean, like, in addition to the normal reasons why people stay on Facebook, to stay in touch with friends and family and know what's going on in their lives, you have to sign in. A lot of apps sign in. You just choose to sign in through Facebook, so you don't have to remember another password. There's a lot of ways that Facebook has become sort of an infrastructure for wider parts of the internet that make it harder to just delete your account.
Yeah, so a lot of people have chosen or like jumped on this campaign to delete Facebook because of all the, you know, issues with data collection and issues going on with Cambridge Analytica that broke last Friday. You know, a lot of it is more of like a moral like issue for them. But I feel like this is much different from the Delete Uber campaign that had gone on or the Delete HQ campaign that had gone on. You know, I feel like Facebook is a lot more essential to people's lives than a quiz app or getting a ride in a you know rideshare company.
Right. That's the thing about Facebook is that they're basically a monopoly in social networks. I mean, there's nobody that even comes close to the amount of their scale. Even with Uber, at least it's A, not as big, and B, they have robust competitors.
What would it take for you to delete Facebook though? Like what like even if they did like the craziest thing in the world, like would you still use it because it's so, you know, it's so ingrained in our society?
I don't know. I mean, I think that for the normal person, to have to delete Facebook, an average user, it would have to take a lot more than what's happened so far. I mean, we don't know. We don't really know yet. It's only just started to see if there's really been a ding to how many people are logging in and using it.
So as a counterpoint, you know, for the Stay on Facebook campaign, Chris Wiley, the Cambridge Analytica whistleblower, actually had his Facebook account deleted by Facebook itself. So, you know, you can't delete us, we're deleting you. And he said it screwed up his life in many ways. Ironically, on a Facebook live chat on Tuesday, you know, he's saying that he can't use Tinder now because you can only validate your login through Facebook, which you were talking about as like as a login mechanism for a lot of people. And he compared it to being deleted from the internet, which I think might be of a stretch, but I think he does have a fair point that, you know, there's a lot more cons than pros to deleting Facebook.
I found in the past when I have tried to scale back the amount that I use Facebook, there are all these, because it's so ubiquitous, there are all these ways where I'm sort of forced to open it. Not forced, but if I want to make sure that I see this video or if I need to check something or even if it doesn't have anything to do with my own Facebook account, there's lots of times where I'm like, oh, I have to open up Facebook even if I don't want to.
Yeah, and finally, the Senate Intel Committee, they hosted a hearing today on election security. It turns out not every state is interested in the federal government's help. So while 21 states were hit by hackers in 2016, only about 19 actually asked the Department of Homeland Security for its help.
So during this hearing, wasn't there a senator that made a kind of extraordinary suggestion for how to test our security?
Yeah, so elections? Senator Angus King, he's an independent from Maine. He mentioned this to the Department of Homeland Security secretary, saying, "Hey, you should create a red team, which is basically like a offensive hacking team, to hack these states that haven't opted in to show them how vulnerable they are." And then maybe they'll choose to opt in. I think there's ways to convince people that their systems are secure. I wouldn't say that this is the best one. And that's most of the time that we have for today. But if you liked what you heard, check us out on CNET. I'm Alfred Ng.
I'm Joni Salzman.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, thanks for joining us, everybody. We are still going to do the same, even though we are running late. I'm going to jump through the chat and find some great questions and comments because we all have an opinion on Facebook. And I think the first thing I want to start out with is this is coming from me as a user of Facebook. How much is it truly Facebook's fault at this point? Is it really a broken infrastructure, or is it that it's been poisoned and destroyed by malicious users?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it kind of depends on who you ask. Facebook And, a lot of like stories out there have been kind of saying this isn't really Facebook's fault in the way that, this is a third party app that like lied to them and didn't, comply with their rules, and then basically did something that they weren't supposed to. But, you could also make the argument that, Facebook didn't do enough to protect that information in the first place so that people couldn't lie to them. So yeah, there's two different perspectives on this, but Facebook is, they're saying that they're the victims here and it's not their fault on this.
And I think that I think people have a good point when they bring up if Facebook was deceived, then they were deceived, and that's kind of been the party line for Facebook so far, even though there's been a lot of kind of leadership silence about a response to this particular scandal. But they're friggin' Facebook. I think that argument falls on a lot of deaf ears when you're one of the most powerful companies in the history of the universe.
Yeah, this is something that happens with in security a lot when a company gets breached. The idea is hey, we were like hit by a criminal, and you're saying that this is our fault. Like I don't
right.
But in Equifax's scenario, the idea is. Yeah, but you didn't do enough to secure your system to begin with.
Right.
So I think that's the debate going on with Facebook right now too.
Right.
Whereas like we were like lied to and deceived.
Right. But if you're like a company that's enriched yourself astronomically, and you have incredible power, if you're not wielding it with responsibility, then that's on you. That I think is a valid counterpoint to the "but we were deceived" argument.
So we got a great comment from Matthew Datcher. Am I the only one scared about how Facebook has changed the way I communicate? Let's think about that. Let's really think about that for a second. Has Facebook reformatted how you communicate at large, the way you think about how to interact with people, interpersonal communication?
One of the things that I think has been really interesting in the last year is the number of early stage Facebook executives and investors that have come out saying just those concerns, like Sean Parker is a major one who said, like, what did he say?
Probably don't use Facebook.
Yeah, he says he calls himself a Facebook conscientious objector. Roger McNamee, he was an investor who he wrote an op-ed, and then this guy whose name I can't pronounce, but he went to Stanford, and I'm sure a lot of people saw it. He had this like whole talk about how he doesn't let his own children use Facebook, how it's ripping apart society. It's one thing for users to have grudges against Facebook, but for the people that actually created it himself, I think it's interesting that there are these numbers of executives.
It's great that they've chosen to,
after
basically say all this after making
right.
billions of dollars off of it. I feel
right.
it like really feels like to me like drug dealers just saying like don't get high on your own supply kind of thing. I don't know if they've changed the way that I communicate, but I feel like maybe it's because the change has been so gradual that like you don't notice it, like a frog in boiling water. Like I can't like specify any specific ways that they've changed how I communicate, but at the same time I'm sure there is.
Yeah, and it might not even be a communication. I think a lot of the research that has shown that Facebook changes the way we feel has to do with self-worth and identity more so than as a communication tool. I think as a communication tool, Facebook isn't that foundationally changing. But in terms of like your self-worth, how you present yourself to the world, how you structure your life in order to present it to the world, I think that Facebook as the biggest social network has had a big influence on
it has
how
not
we
done
are.
that for me at all because my self-worth is at a peak. Like I'm the greatest.
Yeah, I don't think that you've been influenced by
Try again, Facebook.
So is Zuckerberg currently selling off his stocks? Is that some writing on the wall?
Is he?
No,
I don't know.
he had sold it in like January or so. He
needed a new boat.
That could be it. He's actually supposed to finally make a public announcement today. He's been kind of hidden for the last like 5 days or so.
And so there's no confusion. There's a different stock structure at Facebook. Even if he does sell off some shares, he has what are known as super voting shares. And so without getting into the details of it, partly because I can't remember off the top of my head, basically Mark Zuckerberg is entrenched as the leader of Facebook till the end of time, unless something catastrophic or he becomes president, basically.
Yeah. There are a lot of people in the chat who have left Facebook a long time ago. A lot of people who are on that increasing incline right this very second. for those of us out there who have hesitated because of the reason that we are interested in interpersonal communication, like literally, I've gotten away from interfacing with it as much. Can you use Facebook Messenger and maintain those communication direct lines without having to have a public profile?
I looked into it. I actually looked into this like over the last 2 weeks before like this whole thing broke out, just because I was very annoyed by being on Facebook. The answer is no. You need a Facebook profile to use that.
But you can largely disable a lot of the profile functionalities. You can stop people from posting stuff. You cannot go to .com.
Yeah.
You can just use a messenger,
There's
but you still have to
actually-
put your
there's-
name out there.
There's actually a Chrome extension that makes it so that whenever you go on like Facebook.com, it's only Messenger and Events, which is what I would assume most people use it for now anyway. But yeah, I've tried just
And
being on Messenger
in
because that's the
addition-
only thing I use.
In
Yeah.
addition to Messenger, like, I mean, I don't, for my own interactions with friends and family, I don't use Facebook very much, but I use WhatsApp constantly. I mean, we have to consider that it's not just Facebook and not just Messenger, a Facebook branded product. There's also WhatsApp and Instagram. Instagram being the second biggest in among English speaking people. In the
Yeah,
US.
I've used Instagram a lot as a chatting app instead too.
Yeah.
That and like GroupMe, which is not owned by Facebook, and also Snapchat, like group chats. So there are ways to communicate outside of Facebook and WhatsApp, but I think it's like the lowest common denominator for like online like chatter.
So a lot of people, there are a gajillion and a half different interfaces that you could possibly utilize to supplement for Facebook. We can talk about some of them, but the benefits to something like a Facebook where you're using your data plan instead of SMS, to me, it's an appealing, free, quick, easy, fairly efficient, and organized method of communication. I have only poked at WhatsApp. Tell me a little more about WhatsApp and how that could be used as a Facebook alternative.
Well, I use it all the time. But the great thing about WhatsApp is that there are very robust competitors to it, like Signal. Do you use Signal at all, Alfred?
Yes, but mostly to communicate with sources. I don't really
Right.
do it
Yeah.
with my
So
friends.
the thing about WhatsApp is it's basically just like instead of using your text messages, it's like that, except in a different program. Except I initially started using it because it was before the days of unlimited texting. And it was a way to text with friends in an unlimited way without having to worry about it. You can also make calls through WhatsApp, and it's encrypted, which is also helpful. Signal as well as encrypted,
that's
which
why
is why a lot of
Signal and WhatsApp, they're like the biggest rivals with each other. on
right.
that.
If you have a confidentiality issue that you want to take care of, it's a good alternative for that reason. But that's why I use it. I use it so that I can communicate with my family and my friends on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah, my parents use
or
it.
one-to-many, but not like one to everybody.
Yeah.
My parents use it, but I'm specifically not on it, so I don't have to talk to my parents as much.
So you have to be a signed up user of WhatsApp to
Yeah,
interface with
but-
another WhatsApp. It's
yeah,
not
you don't-
automatically integrated, being that it's owned by Facebook.
No,
Got it.
Yeah, so you don't have to have a Facebook. As far as I know, you don't have to have a Facebook account because I signed up for WhatsApp before it was bought by Facebook, but and so I don't know if I was just grandfathered in, but there's no like it's an impermeable barrier in between my Facebook and my WhatsApp. There's no interconnection except for the fact they're both owned by the same company.
Shout out
personally.
to Stringjoy. Did AIM miss a comeback on this one?
Oh man,
Entirely possible. Let's talk about some more alternatives. People are curious. What is Signal? I've never heard of that one myself.
Oh,
It's a secure chatting app.
Yeah.
A lot of security like researchers use it, and a lot of like political activists and journalists use it because it's one of the most secure ways you can chat with sources. It's encrypted end to end, which means that it's encrypted like when it gets to your phone while it's being transited, and then while the other person receives it as well. And it's not like other encryption messages where you have to give them this whole like PGP key kind of thing. Like you can really just give them a phone number for it, and you don't have to use your own phone number for it. Like you can set it up with like a Google Voice number or some kind of other phone number for it. Mine, I use my company phone number on it, but I also have a separate one with like a Google Voice number on it as well. So yeah, it's one of the many secure messenger apps that's out there, and it uses data instead of like your mobile line. And the reason why it's so highly regarded, even though there's so many of them out there, there's like Telegram, and then there's
Right.
WhatsApp, and then there's Signal. Is that
is Line? Do you know if Line's encrypted?
I don't think it might be, but not as like encrypted
Not as much,
as
right.
Signal is.
Right.
But yeah, the reason why it's like so heavily like touted is, it hasn't like suffered any like security issues that some of the other ones have had. Telegram was making headlines yesterday because they lost a bid to like have to give up some of their code to like the Russian government. They're still fighting it, but there was like some like decision yesterday that said like you have to hand this over to us. So Signal has avoided that issue like mostly.
Yeah. Let's talk about some more alternatives. What about Viber? Mixalus wants to know about Viber. I've never heard of that one myself.
I've heard of it. I've never used it.
Yeah, I've never used it either.
Yeah, I can't recommend.
Can't vouch for it. Sorry, man.
Mixalus, tell us about it if you have an experience with it. We'd love to learn more.
Yeah.
Is this an opportunity for Google Plus to shine? Michael Brown is a big proponent of the Google interface. I've used it myself. It was many moons ago. I found it taxing to try to maintain both the Facebook and the Google Plus, and ended up defaulting once again to the one where I had the most interactions with people in my inner circle, where we can share our jokes and crap, and where I can filter out bad political stuff.
I would say the most useful thing with Google Plus is it would be most useful to replace Facebook as a authentication login. So yeah, what the Cambridge Analytica whistleblower was complaining about was like, oh, I can't log into Tinder anymore because I need to use Facebook as like a authenticator on that. You know how like some websites you don't want to create an account for, but it's like, oh, you can log in with Google Plus.
And Facebook, which is another reason a lot of people are resistant to the idea of dropping it. But there's always options.
That's the thing.
I've never seen one that's restricted to one.
I've never used Facebook as an authentication for that, because when you do that, you give that app permission to log in like on your Facebook account, which is how this whole Cambridge Analytica thing got like all the permission issues. So I just did it with Google Plus.
I did though, after Cambridge Analytica, all this news broke, I did go through my personal Facebook and I deleted all the third-party apps that have been connected to my account. And it was amazing how some of them that I haven't used in years, like a bizarre little game that had jellyfish in it, like how they ask, because, end user agreements, you don't pay any attention when they ask you for permissions. They like wanted, they had access to everything.
So Facebook actually has like almost no info on me. You know how like you can check like how they target advertisements towards you?
Yeah.
They have like almost no information on me because 13-year-old Alfred thought it'd be edgy to not like anything. It was just like, I'm not gonna like anything. I'll keep my page empty and look cool. I'll be like mysterious and stuff. And now I'm looking back at like 10 years later, and I was like,
you're a prophet.
Hell yeah, dude. Not only was I edgy and mysterious, I also kept my privacy on there. So there you go.
I mean, it's kind of a shame. I did like the aggregation aspect of Facebook. Granted, it got infiltrated. It's been compromised, to say the least. But, I mean, I can go there, and it is a single place, because I was using a lot of things like Google Reader and Feedly, and eventually Facebook rendered all of them fairly obsolete, because I got the direct line to the people that I was like, oh, Alex would love this recipe.
Right.
Or, look at the Avengers trailer.
Right.
Well, do I really need to share that? Everyone already saw it. It's all kind of self-serving anymore. I'm definitely interested personally in finding alternatives these days from Facebook itself.
Yeah, I mostly just go in my group chat to talk with my friends now.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to the rise of Snapchat, that it's not a like one to like you're not publishing your life to the entire world on Snapchat. I think that's the rise of Facebook, and sort of a reaction to it is why Snapchat had an appeal in the first place.
From Mixalus, he says, definitely try Viber out. End-to-end encryption, good PC version. It only needs your phone number, doesn't have stories. Props to that. It's just for messaging and calling and video calling. Also, Wicker Me is pretty cool. I've never heard of that one either. Yeah. So definitely worth checking out. We're all on the hunt these days, I think. From The Watchful Hunter, is there a way to remove Congress from media control over the election process?
Whoa, I don't understand that question. What was it?
we took a turn here. Is there a way to remove Congress from media control over the election process? Listen, I'm embracing conspiracy theory Thursdays here. Getting ready for it.
It's Wednesday, my dude.
Can't it be Thursday, please?
I just had to bring it up. Let's talk to Srinjoy. Do you think that an actual breach proportional to the massive Yahoo breach would be hurtful enough for Facebook? Because I don't think the issue would even budge the users.
I don't know.
Well,
what would it take to push you off Facebook, essentially?
I feel like there'd have to be another competitor that could offer all of it. and then also everybody just happens to jump on it at the same time. Because that's kind of what happened with MySpace. MySpace really sucked, but there were like a lot of people still on it, and then Facebook comes along and it's like, oh, here's all the things that like we hate about MySpace that aren't on it.
MySpace is just ugly and clunky.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
At
dangerous
the time,
necessarily.
Yeah, but the idea was that, they made a better website and then it offered all the features that MySpace did. So people decided, yeah, let me just go on that instead. And then people just started leaving it one by one. Yeah, I feel like I'd have to take something like that. But Facebook has gotten like so ingrained with like people's like lives and, their culture and all this stuff that, that's like a massive shift that would have to happen. I don't think a breach of Yahoo's size, I think they would be hammered for it in the news. And it would cause like a large migration or like people leaving, but I don't think that it would like essentially kill Facebook in the same way that, Yahoo's still going on right now. And, people still use Yahoo even after that, like every single user was breached and people still use it. So I don't think that a breach of that size would kill Facebook.
Could be interesting is if Facebook has to change itself either through regulation or through public pressure, has to change some of the things that have spurred its rise to begin with. Like if it, like even just the fact that they're focusing on this time well spent thing, and they've shown so far that has caused a reduction in amount of time spent on Facebook. It'd be interesting to see if there is regulation that forces Facebook to back off on some of the addictive elements of it, some of the divisive elements of it, which are the things that make people get like sucked in to begin with, if that has an effect.
So most of the proposed regulations have been on
advertising,
political ads.
Yeah.
But the FTC is reportedly like looking into Facebook now for its violation of an agreement that it made in 2011, which was mostly on like privacy issues, but that's not regulated. That's more like an FTC like agreement that they had.
Right.
So they are looking into that, but like all the addictive stuff that you were talking about and all like the psychological tricks that they use to like keep you on Facebook, there's never really been much chatter on that.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested if they, if that was like a part of it.
Maybe. It'd be interesting.
I never thought I'd agree with somebody over this, but from I Tech You Out guy says, man, I miss MySpace. And I do too at this point.
Why?
I don't know. The security features?
Because it was, such simpler days, man.
Well, yeah.
Simple halcyon days.
And Lincolnator says Facebook used to be so simple. I don't know what happened. Mike Shaw followed it up, says you should have just banned third-party apps. Business happened.
Yeah.
Investments happened. Corruption happened.
Yeah, they make a ton of money off of the third-party apps because it takes in all this information that you can use for advertising. So yeah, that's probably not going away, unfortunately. But yeah, money happened. That's what happened.
Facebook found a way to normalize and centralize a lot of the communication and efficiently organize it. I'll give them that much. A lot of people say Hangouts is a great alternative. Hangouts is a fantastic platform, but my mom doesn't use Hangouts. My mom's on Facebook.
Right.
I also have everybody's text number, but I don't want to use my SMS dollars. I want to use data. That is easier for me. I don't know. That's why I'm stuck in Facebook.
Yeah.
Maybe the downfall of Facebook will be just because that's where all our moms are. Maybe that ultimately will be why.
I can't wait for us to all be on some social network that like our children are stuck on because of
right.
It's like, man, I really want to leave Pooper Nooper, but my mom's on it, so I can't.
Pooper Nooper?
Yeah, I don't know. That's my social network. Join Pooper Nooper.
Yeah. I think I myself am personally quite ready to just stop embracing the website Facebook. I'll exist on it, but I don't want to interface with anybody except the direct messages to the people that I care to share that inside joke with anymore. I think I'm ready to embrace that. I'm getting old. I don't care about stuff anymore.
I don't know if it's just age though. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm also getting old. We're all getting old. But I mean, I pulled back on how much time I personally spend. I made a conscious decision to spend less time on Facebook, and I was happier for it. Just because of and I'm not talking about anything that Facebook has done or anything, but just the fact that it's inherently something that's based on getting self-worth and self-gratification off of these things that are ultimately meaningless. I mean, that's a really philosophical way to start looking at it.
Yeah,
but
the last post on my wall was from CES. Like I like almost never post on Facebook anymore. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
bad time. It's not.
Are we bragging now? Is that
Yeah,
what's going
man.
on?
Yeah, I don't post on Facebook.
Good.
He's mysterious. If you didn't pick up on that.
I think we are just about out of time. This has been a really fantastic discussion, everybody, and thank you for all your suggestions. I myself, as a social media user, will embrace and research these for my own personal exploits. And we're interested to see. Go ahead and tweet at us if you do come up with any other better alternatives, because Facebook seems to be just poison these days.
Yep.
We'll say bye to you. If you're out there in the snow, be safe, be well, be warm, and we'll be back tomorrow unless the entire building is encased in an ice castle. Alfred, you want to take us out?
Yeah, if you liked what you heard, check us out on CNET.com. The 359 podcast is also available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, and the Amazon Echo.
Thanks, everyone. Take care of yourselves.